Hey guys, what is up? Shin0555 back with another rant, believe it or not. It's been a while since I made one of these, and as you can tell from the screen art wallpaper thing, it's on Final Fantasy VII, the holy grail of turn-based RPGs. As you can tell, I love Final Fantasy VII. And this video is there's really no point to this video except I'm going to just talk about how much I love Final Fantasy VII. And why I don't understand why people don't like this game. So I'm going to start out giving you some background. Final Fantasy VII, it came out in the golden age of video games, the 90s. It was the first RPG the first Final Fantasy game that Square made that was in actual 3D. Final Fantasy VII broke away from the 2D RPG games. So yeah, it revolutionized RPGs. That's basically what it did. Anyway, Final Fantasy VII, it's either loved or hated by the Final Fantasy fans. I personally love it. I downloaded it on the PlayStation Network and have been replaying it. It's a great game. I played the original one at a friend's house, and I fell in love with it there. But I was little, and I didn't understand how great it was at the time. And now that I'm a little bit older, and replaying it on the PlayStation 3, it's quite amazing. Okay, anyway, mainly, there's a lot of people that don't like Final Fantasy VII. And the only reason that I really hear when I talk to people, because I have a couple friends that say, oh, Final Fantasy VII sucks. It's the worst game out of them all. And then I'll ask them, why do you think it's the worst game? And they're like, oh, it's just overrated and overpopular. And to be honest with you, that's the only reason they actually come up with why Final Fantasy VII isn't a good game. It's just because people overrate it. Honestly, I think that's a stupid reason to hate Final Fantasy VII. Being overrated has nothing to do with how well the game is. Because, honestly, it's just a great RPG. It is so amazing. But, like, words can't describe how good this RPG is. Final Fantasy VII is my favorite Final Fantasy game. I played a lot of them. 3 comes in second favorite. Then 6. Then 10's all the way at the bottom. So yeah. Yeah, but people complain like, oh, it's overrated, it's overpopular. They do so much stuff with Final Fantasy VII. That's because it is popular. Like, Final Fantasy VII is the only game to actually get a full-length movie about it. It was I believe one of the first games to get a spin-off. I'm not sure on that. I know Final Fantasy IV got a spin-off. But I think Final Fantasy VII was the first one to actually get a spin-off, I believe. Don't quote me on that, because I'm not 100% positive, but anyway, it does have a lot of spin-offs. I believe it has the most spin-offs of any Final Fantasy game. It has, 2, I believe. Yeah. Right? It has Crisis Core, and it has, Dare to Cerberus. No, it has 3, and there's a cell phone game about it. I remember now. Yeah, so it has the most spin-offs of any Final Fantasy game. It has a full-length movie. Square-Enix basically whores this game out for money. They slap Cloud's face on something and people go and buy it. So, yeah, Square-Enix loves it. It's probably because it's a cash cow. It makes so much money. Honestly, the game was just great. I love the story. I love the characters. I love the setting. It was just all perfect. It was perfect. It is a great, great game. There's also... like, it was just so wonderful. I'm struggling to come up with words with how I actually feel about the game. It's just so good. Like, this is literally the best RPG I've ever played. Like, it has all the stuff that I like in an RPG. You basically start out as, like, a little gang of freedom fighters known as Avalanche. You start out as, like, this little unit trying to stop Shinra. And then, by the end of the game, you become this badass team of awesome people. And, like, you just build up to become this big bad hero. And it's just so wonderful. I love when they do that in RPGs. Another good game that did that was Dragon Quest V. That was a wonderful RPG too, where it just like you just start from nothing and just build yourself up to this ultimate superhero god person where like no one can stop you. Like, I love that type of story in RPGs. And another thing I liked about this RPG is it started you off strong. Basically, in the very beginning of the game, when you start playing, you're actually a lot stronger than the enemies you fought. I like it when RPGs do that. I like starting out stronger in the beginning of an RPG, mainly because it just makes the game easier. It allows you to get used to the combat system easier. And eventually, the game actually does catch up with you, and the enemies start getting a lot stronger very quickly. But in the beginning, it was a very nice, you could kill a bunch of the guys pretty easily. And it was just amazing. I like it when RPGs do that, where you start out a lot stronger than the guys you start fighting. The first boss in this game is kind of a breeze. It's just so great. All the characters are lovable or hateable. Personally, I liked most of the characters. I like Cloud, I like Barret, I like Tifa, I like Red 13. No one likes Cat Sith. No one likes Yuffie. I like Sid. Vincent's awesome. Like, and Aerith, to be honest with you, I hate her. She's annoying. But I'm gonna get to that a little bit later. But, just the characters were great. The setting of Midgar and Shinra and the entire world, it was pretty good. It was a little barren for my taste. Like, there were a lot of cities and stuff, but a lot of it was basically wasteland. Like, around Shinra, it's just like this big crater. Mainly because that's where, the Genova asteroid crashed and they built their factory over it. But, like, around Shinra, it's just kind of barren. Like, the overworld map felt very, very empty. Except with the few towns that were lying around. But overall, like, the towns, the settings, I actually did enjoy the 3D, not the 3D, like the 2D settings with, like, the 3D character models. I like how they were, like, drawn out illustrations, which made them look really good. And, for this day, this RPG had amazing graphics. For, like, the PlayStation 1 when it came out, this game was breathtaking. It used CGI very well. The in-game character models, like, when you walk around town, look like crap. I'm not gonna lie. But the battle, like, when you're in a battle, the battle character models looked alright. Looked very good. Just this game had so much charm to it. And this game, did what I feel a lot of RPGs fail to do. And it had little quirks to it. Like little mini adventures that just made the game just feel so good. Basically, like, what I'm trying to say is, this game had a lot of, like, little events that just made it stand out from the rest. Like, for example, there was, a part near the beginning of the game when, like, a little girl drowned, or was gonna drown, or, like, gets attacked by, like, this water thing or a robot. I don't remember precisely. This was pretty far back. But anyway, something happens to her, and she's lying on a beach, and you have to perform CPR. And they made a little mini game where you actually had to do CPR. There's another one where you had to get in a squat battle with this guy, and it was to see who could do the most squats. And, in fact, in the beginning of the game, you have to literally go into a rape dungeon. And I don't mean like a dungeon where, like, you go there with your party, and there's a bunch of strong monsters, and you're like, oh, I got raped. No, a dungeon literally meant for rape. And Cloud, if you don't know him, he's the guy in the middle with the blonde hair, holding the huge sword. He actually had to dress up like a girl and sneak in to this rape dungeon. And there's nothing wrong with that. I want to know who came up with that idea in the story. Actually, you do it within the first 5 hours of the game. But I want to know who came up with that story in the team that made the game, in production. I want to know who did that and shake their hand. I had so much fun doing that. I thought it was hilarious. And it was just so out there. No other game really did that. Well, basically, you dress up like a girl, you go into like this mansion place thing, and the guy picks you, Aerith, or Tifa. He picks Tifa, and then to rape her, I guess. And then Cloud gets sent to like a dungeon where there's like a table that's meant for like strapping people in, and it's meant for rape, basically. And then, but anyway, then you get sent into like this room with a bunch of guys, and they're like, ooh, and they all like start walking towards you like zombies. And then Cloud takes off the dress, pulls out his sword, and he's like, I'm a man. And then you have to fight a bunch of them. The game is just great. And there's millions of other little things about Final Fantasy VII. There's a bunch of little mini games and little things that make it feel just so right. It just felt like a really fun adventure. And that's one of the reasons why I like Final Fantasy VII so much. It just was so unique. And what else? Oh, I actually have other pictures of this. What's the next one? Oh yeah, another CGI. This picture's basically to show off the graphics. This was actually like an in-game cutscene in Final Fantasy. Remember, this was for the PlayStation 1. They did a great job with it. The whole game didn't look like this, but for certain cutscenes, they actually did CGI and stuff, and it actually came out looking really good, especially for its time. Anyway, alright, let's get into the characters. I love Cloud. He was awesome. Most people don't like Cloud, mainly because they're like, oh, he's so emo. All he does is brute and blah, blah, blah. Basically, they got that because in the movie Final Fantasy VII Advent Children, Cloud was very, depressed. He was very standoffish, and he was very distant from everyone else. And people got the impression like, oh, he's emo. He's all like, He basically feels sorry for himself. Anyway, there's reasons for that, but I'll get into that a little bit later. And I think in normal Final Fantasy VII, Cloud was like that. But I feel a lot of people forget, in Final Fantasy VII, you gotta choose what Cloud said. Yeah, there was, when you talk to characters and there's certain events, you actually gotta pick what Cloud said. It really didn't change the story all that much, but it did change the conversation a little bit. Basically, you got really 3 types of answers. You got the brooding answer, like what Cloud would say in Advent Children. You also got a smart-ass answer, especially when you're talking to Barrett, because Cloud and Barrett really didn't get along all that well. But it wasn't like they fought all the time, but they just disagreed a lot. And then you got a neutral answer. I usually went with the smart-ass answer, because that's really funny. But But yeah, you gotta choose what Cloud said, and you basically were able to gauge what his personality was. So, when you play the game, you don't have to be the brooding Cloud that was in Advent Children. Again, all the characters were great. The first, I believe Barrett was the first black character in Final Fantasy in a Final Fantasy game, and they based him off Mr. T. So the first black guy ever in a Final Fantasy game was based off of Mr. T, which that's just hilarious in itself. What else? Tifa was awesome. I liked Tifa. I like how she was actually strong and she wasn't like a damsel in distress. She actually could fight, which I enjoyed that. And yeah, I just like Tifa. She was a little positive. She tried to keep the morale of the team up. But yeah, who else was important? Aerith. Okay, I'll start talking about Aerith. I hated Aerith in this game. Or Aerith. Either one. I call her Aerith because I'm an American. Yeah, we're in America. Anyway, I think the American version, her name's actually Aerith. With a TH at the end. Anyway, I hated her. I thought she was extremely annoying. Mainly because she was very spacey. Like, when characters talked to her, like Cloud or someone, she kinda ignored them. And went in daydreaming. And she was extremely rude. She, like, really daydreamed a lot. She was overly emotional. I just didn't like her as a character. She was just annoying. Yeah, I just didn't like her. She was very spacey. Like, I get, they try to make her spiritual, like, they try to make her perceive as, like, a spiritual person. Mainly because she was the last of the ancients. She was, like, connected with the life stream or something. And, they try to make her spiritual, but she actually just came off being really spacey and annoying. And just overall rude. Because when people talked to her, she just kind of ignored them and went on daydreaming or walked away. Or just didn't care what other people said. I found her very, very annoying. And that leads me to the point where Aerith actually dies at the end of Final Fantasy VII. And a lot of people find that as like an emotional scene. But I was actually happy when that happened. And that's why I like Sephiroth so much. Because he killed her. And I was so happy when that happened. Because she was annoying. I just didn't like Aerith. She was just annoying and a pain in the ass. And I'm happy she's dead. So, yeah, I didn't like her. I actually like Tifa a whole lot better than Aerith. Tifa wasn't annoying. And that's about it for the characters. I don't want to talk about anyone else. Unless I want to spend 3 hours talking about Cat Sith, everyone's favorite person. Okay, anyway, even Final Fantasy VII is a great game. It is a wonderful RPG. It doesn't deserve any hate at all. It even has wonderful spin-offs. Like, this is a picture from or a screen art from Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII. As you can see, there's Zack, Cloud's mentor, Aerith, Sephiroth, and there's Angeal and Genesis up on the rafters in the ceiling. You can barely see him on the video. I'm sorry. But, there's, this Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII is the best PSP game out there. It is a wonderful spin-off. I love Zack. Again, I hated Aerith. She was rude. Even though Aerith is Zack's girlfriend. Sephiroth was awesome until the end when he went crazy. And it was just nice to see all the characters come back in 3D. And basically why Cloud is so broody in Final Fantasy Advent Children was because he was depressed that Zack died and that he let Aerith die as well. Because basically, because if you think about it, Cloud, well actually Zack, was Cloud's mentor. He was basically his hero. And Cloud literally watched him die in front of his eyes. Like, Cloud wasn't like, like far away, and he heard that Zack died and got all depressed that way. He was literally in front of Zack when he died. And Zack gave him his Buster Blade, and then Cloud continued on with Zack's legacy. Cloud is Zack's living legacy. I think that's how it went. And then, at the end of 7, Cloud let Aerith die. And he felt depressed because he probably thought he let Zack down again. And he was all depressed throughout the movie, probably because of that. He probably felt bad about himself and all that stuff. Anyway, so that's why Cloud was so broody in the Advent Children movie, because he had a lot of demons to work out. And by the end of the movie, he was back to normal Cloud. He actually lightened up by the end of the movie. He was the hero we all needed him to be. To beat up Sephiroth. And that's about it. So yeah, those are basically all my thoughts on Final Fantasy VII and why I think it's so great. Again, this went on really long, and it was basically me just talking about how much I like 7. It's honestly just such a great game. Honestly, if you haven't played Final Fantasy VII for the PlayStation 1, you should go pick it up right away. Download an emulator or something, and just play the game. It is an amazing game, and you need to play it. It's my favorite out of all the Final Fantasy games. I will defend this game till the end of Earth. Because it's just a good game, and people don't give it enough credit. And the reason people don't like it is because it's really popular. And that's no reason to hate this game. Just because something's popular doesn't mean you have to hate it. It's popular for a reason. It is a great game, a masterful, well done RPG that I enjoy playing to even this day. Okay guys, I'm Shin0525. Thanks for listening to this whole entire rant on Final Fantasy VII. I will make more rants in the near future, mostly on video games. And that's about it. Okay guys, thanks for listening. Tell me your thoughts about Final Fantasy VII or any of the Final Fantasy games. I'll be more than happy to have a conversation with you. Any thoughts, just write them in the comments. Okay guys, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and next rant will be on something else. I'm not sure, 100% sure, but I will be making another rant pretty soon. Alright guys, thank you very much for watching, hope you enjoyed, and see you next time. Alright guys, bye bye.